Do you ever feel it? That quiet hum of dissatisfaction beneath the surface of your everyday life? It's the feeling that something more is possible, a deeper sense of purpose, a life lived with more intention and less hesitation. Many of us carry this yearning within, a powerful desire for growth, for change, for a version of ourselves that feels more aligned, more capable, more alive. We see others who seem to effortlessly move forward, who achieve their goals, who exude a confidence we can only admire from afar. We wonder, what is their secret? How do they do it? The truth is, we often look for that secret in external validation, in a sudden burst of inspiration, in the mythical right moment, when everything will suddenly click into place. We tell ourselves, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll pursue that dream when I have more time, more energy, more clarity. We wait for motivation to strike like lightning, believing that true action is born from a perfect alignment of feelings and circumstances, a magical push that will propel us forward without effort. But here's a truth that can be both stark and incredibly liberating. That perfect moment, that ideal emotional state, rarely arrives. While we are waiting for the universe to give us permission, while we are waiting to feel the urge, life itself continues its relentless march forward, often leaving us standing still. This stagnation, this self-imposed inertia, is not a sign of weakness, but a common human struggle. It's the silent battle fought within the minds of millions, a battle where desire often gets outmaneuvered by doubt, and intention gets lost in the fog of uncertainty. We dream of a different future, we articulate our goals, we even believe in our potential, yet our daily actions often tell a different story. They speak of hesitation, of compromise, of an invisible force holding us back, whispering that it's easier to stay put, to avoid the discomfort, to simply wait. This waiting game, however, has a profound cost. It erodes our belief in ourselves, it diminishes our sense of agency, and it slowly, subtly, chips away at the very foundation of our aspirations. The gap between who we are and who we long to be widens, not because we lack the ability, but because we have yet to master the art of consistent, intentional movement. We are caught in a paradox. We want to change, we desire growth, yet our habitual inaction becomes the very thing that prevents it. It's a frustrating cycle, one that can leave us feeling defeated and disconnected from our own power. We often believe that to achieve significant change, to truly break free from the patterns that hold us back, we need a dramatic catalyst, a grand gesture, or a profound emotional shift. We imagine that the moment we finally feel ready, the moment motivation floods our being, then, and only then will we be able to take decisive action. This is the seductive illusion that keeps so many of us trapped in a state of perpetual waiting. The reality, however, is that action isn't a consequence of feeling ready. It's often the cause of readiness itself. The secret to progress, the true engine of transformation, doesn't lie in the fluctuating tides of our emotions, but in the unwavering power of our decisions and the consistent execution of our actions. This journey we embark on is not about finding more motivation, but about understanding how to generate it through deliberate movement. It's about recognizing that the act of doing, even when we don't feel like it, is the most powerful tool we possess. It's about shifting our focus from the ephemeral, how I feel, to the enduring, what I do. This distinction is crucial. When we rely solely on inspiration or a surge of emotion to fuel our endeavors, we are building our dreams on unstable ground. Our feelings are notoriously fickle. They change with the weather, with our sleep patterns, with the latest news. To build a life of substance, we need a foundation that is far more robust, a foundation built on the bedrock of consistent action, regardless of our internal emotional landscape. This doesn't mean suppressing our feelings or ignoring our well-being. It means understanding that our feelings are not the masters of our destiny. We are. We have the power to direct our actions, and in doing so, we can begin to reshape our internal world. This is the essence of personal growth, not waiting for the perfect conditions, but creating them through the sheer force of our will and the discipline of our daily choices. It's about understanding that the path to becoming the person you aspire to be is paved not with passive anticipation, but with active engagement. This leads us to the core of our exploration, The profound realization that true progress isn't born from the perfect feeling or the opportune moment, but from the unwavering commitment to action. We often fall into the trap of believing that our emotional state dictates our capacity for achievement. We tell ourselves, "I'll only be able to start my project when I feel inspired," or "I can't possibly tackle this challenge when I'm feeling overwhelmed." This mindset, while understandable, is a significant barrier to growth. It places us in a position of reactivity, where our actions are dictated by the whims of our emotions, rather than by our intentional vision. The secret, however, lies in a fundamental shift, understanding that action is not a result of motivation, but its origin. Think about it. When you finally take that first step, when you commit to doing the task, however small, even when you don't feel like it, something shifts within you. Your focus sharpens, your belief in yourself begins to solidify, and your character starts to strengthen. This isn't magic. It's the direct consequence of your decision to move, to engage, to push forward. It's the training of your will, the development of your inner resolve. This is the pathway to unlocking your true potential, a pathway that is forged through consistent, deliberate action, not through passive waiting. The journey of transformation is not a passive one. It's an act of creation. It requires us to understand that our internal world, our beliefs, our fears, our self-sabotaging patterns, often acts as an invisible anchor, holding us back from the life we envision. These are the invisible battles we fight, the internal dialogues that convince us we aren't ready, aren't capable, or don't deserve the success we desire. It's crucial to acknowledge these inner hurdles with compassion, not judgment. For too long, many have lived under the weight of these limiting beliefs, accepting them as immutable truths about themselves. But what if these beliefs are simply patterns, ingrained habits of thought and perception that can be understood, unpacked, and ultimately rewired? What if the fears that paralyze us are not insurmountable walls, but rather signposts pointing towards areas where growth is most needed? This is the invitation to look inward, not with self-recrimination, but with curiosity and courage. It's an acknowledgement that the obstacles we face are often not external, but deeply rooted within our own minds and hearts. Recognizing these patterns is the first, vital step towards dismantling them, towards freeing ourselves from the invisible chains that bind us to inaction and self-doubt. This is where true empowerment begins, not by denying these internal struggles, but by understanding them, accepting them as part of the human experience, and then choosing to move forward anyway. We often believe that inspiration is the spark that ignites action. We wait for that surge of energy, that perfect moment of clarity, that undeniable feeling that tells us, now is the time. But what if this belief is, in fact, a carefully constructed illusion, one that keeps us perpetually waiting for a moment that may never arrive? The truth is, inspiration is a fleeting visitor, a butterfly that flits in and out of our lives. If we build our ambitions solely on its presence, we will find ourselves frequently adrift. The real power, the sustainable force that drives lasting change, comes from a different source entirely: the decision to act, regardless of how we feel. This is the pivotal mindset shift that unlocks extraordinary lives. It's the understanding that action is not a consequence of motivation, but its very source. When you commit to taking action, even when it's difficult, even when you doubt yourself, you are not waiting for your feelings to align. You are actively creating the conditions for those feelings to emerge. You are telling your mind, your body, your spirit, that you are in charge. You are demonstrating to yourself, through concrete deeds, that your intentions are serious. This is where true empowerment takes root, in the courage to move forward, not when you feel ready, but when you decide you must. This conscious choice to act, to push beyond the comfort zone, is what reshapes your perception of yourself and cultivates an unshakable inner strength. Now, let's equip ourselves with the tools to translate this understanding into tangible results. Knowing that action is the catalyst for motivation is a powerful realization, but it needs to be put into practice. This involves cultivating specific mental habits and emotional strategies that support consistent movement. Consider the power of a daily ritual, a simple, non-negotiable action that you commit to performing every single day, regardless of your mood or external circumstances. This could be as small as writing for 10 minutes, doing 20 push-ups, or reading a single page of a book. The specific action is less important than the act of consistency itself. This is about training your willpower, strengthening your resolve, and building momentum. Reflect on the power of small wins. Every time you honor your commitment, even in a minor way, you are reinforcing your belief in your own capability. You are teaching your mind to respond to your will, not to your fleeting emotions. This deliberate practice builds what is often called self-efficacy, the belief in your ability to succeed in specific situations or accomplish a task. It's not about grand gestures. It's about the accumulation of small, consistent efforts. Furthermore, develop a practice of self-reflection. At the end of each day, take a moment to acknowledge what you accomplished, no matter how small. Celebrate your adherence to your commitments. This conscious recognition amplifies the positive impact of your actions and reinforces the habit. It's about shifting your focus from what you didn't do to what you did do, thereby retraining your mind to recognize progress and build confidence. The moment we truly embrace the power of action, we unlock a profound sense of inner courage. This is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in its presence. It's about understanding that our potential is not a passive gift, but an active creation. We are not destined to be passive recipients of life's circumstances. We are the architects of our own reality. This requires embracing personal responsibility, acknowledging that our journey is shaped by our choices, and that true progress hinges on our willingness to step forward, even when the path is uncertain. It means trusting in our ability to navigate challenges, to learn from setbacks, and to rise stronger with each experience. This call to courage is an invitation to shed the limitations we have imposed upon ourselves and to step boldly into the person we are meant to become. It's about having faith not in a perfect outcome, but in the process of becoming, in the power of our own resilience, and in the undeniable strength that resides within us, waiting to be unleashed by our commitment to action. And so, we arrive at the culmination of this journey, a declaration of your inherent worth and your undeniable power. You are not defined by your doubts, your past failures, or the limitations you once perceived. You are defined by your capacity to choose, to act, and to grow. You possess an inner strength, a deep wellspring of resilience that has carried you this far and which will propel you even further. Recognize that healing is not a destination, but a continuous process fueled by your willingness to show up for yourself, day after day. Your identity is not fixed. It is a dynamic creation, sculpted by your daily choices and your unwavering commitment to becoming your best self. You are worthy of the life you envision, not because of external validation, but because of your inherent value as a human being. Embrace this truth with unwavering conviction. Go forth with confidence, knowing that you possess the power to create, to overcome, and to inspire. The path ahead is yours to forge, and you are more than capable of shaping it into a masterpiece of purpose, resilience, and unwavering self-belief. Rise, not because the world demands it, but because you have finally recognized the magnificent power that resides within you, waiting to be unleashed. Now, consider the subtle yet powerful impact of your environment on your resolve. We often focus on our internal state, believing that the battle for action is solely fought within our minds. However, the spaces we inhabit, the people we surround ourselves with, and the digital landscapes we navigate profoundly influence our willingness to engage and persist. Think about your workspace. Is it an organized sanctuary conducive to focus, or a cluttered testament to unfinished thoughts and distractions? The mere visual order, or lack thereof, can significantly impact your cognitive load and your ability to initiate tasks. Furthermore, the people in your immediate circle can either be allies in your pursuit of growth or unintentional saboteurs of your progress. Observe those around you. Do they celebrate your small victories, offering encouragement and accountability, or do they subtly, perhaps even unconsciously, reinforce a narrative of ease, comfort, and immediate gratification? Consequently, curating your social ecosystem with individuals who embody the principles of action and commitment can create a powerful external reinforcing loop for your internal drive. Building on this, let's examine the deliberate architecting of your digital interactions. In today's hyperconnected world, notifications, social media feeds, and endless streams of information act as constant invitations to disengage from your intended path. These digital arenas are meticulously designed to capture and retain your attention, often at the expense of your deeper goals. Consequently, the intentional reduction of digital noise, a curated do not disturb schedule, unfollowing accounts that don't serve your vision, or even implementing time blocking for digital consumption, becomes not a deprivation, but an act of self-preservation and strategic focus. Conversely, leveraging technology purposefully can amplify your efforts. Utilizing productivity apps that track your progress, setting up automated reminders for your key tasks, or engaging with online communities dedicated to shared goals can provide structure and external validation that complements your internal resolve. This isn't about digital asceticism, but about informed, intentional engagement that serves your forward momentum. Another crucial layer involves understanding how external accountability mechanisms can be leveraged. While the ultimate decision to act rests within you, external structures can provide the necessary scaffolding, especially in the nascent stages of habit formation. Consider the power of a pre-commitment, a declaration made to another individual or group that makes it more costly, psychologically or even practically, to deviate from your chosen course. For instance, publicly stating your intention to complete a project by a certain date or partnering with an accountability buddy to review progress weekly creates a sense of obligation that transcends your fluctuating internal motivation. Building on this, think about how physical environments can be reconfigured to support your objectives. If your goal is to write, perhaps setting up your writing desk in a quiet corner of your home, or even finding a consistent spot at a local library, can signal to your brain that it's time to engage in that specific activity. Conversely, if you find yourself habitually reaching for your phone the moment you sit down to focus, consider placing it in a different room or using apps that temporarily block access to distracting platforms. These aren't about willpower alone. They are about strategically designing your world to make the desired action easier and the undesirable one harder. Furthermore, the narrative you consume significantly impacts your mindset. Are you constantly exposed to stories of struggle and stagnation? Or are you actively seeking out narratives of resilience, action, and overcoming adversity? The content you engage with, books, podcasts, films, even the conversations you have, shapes your beliefs about what is possible. Consequently, consciously choosing to immerse yourself in stories that highlight the power of sustained effort and the triumph of determination can powerfully reinforce your own commitment. Think about the impact of biographical accounts of individuals who achieved greatness not through innate talent alone, but through sheer grit and relentless execution. These stories serve as potent reminders that the path to significant achievement is rarely smooth, but it is invariably navigable through persistent, intentional action. Conversely, passively absorbing content that emphasizes luck or external validation can subtly undermine your belief in the efficacy of your own effort. It's about becoming a discerning curator of your informational diet, ensuring it nourishes your drive rather than depleting it. The concept of temptation bundling offers another practical application. This strategy involves pairing an activity you want to do with an activity you need to do. For example, if you find yourself procrastinating on a challenging work task, you might decide to only allow yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while you are actively engaged in that task. Or, if you struggle with regular exercise, you might commit to only watching your favorite streaming series while you are on the treadmill. This technique leverages your existing desires to motivate you through less appealing but necessary actions. Building on this, consider the power of visualizing not just the outcome of your actions, but the process of engaging in them consistently. Picture yourself sitting down to that difficult task with focus, experiencing the satisfaction of completing a section or feeling the invigorating endorphins after a workout. This mental rehearsal can reduce the perceived friction associated with starting and maintaining the desired behavior, making the actual execution feel more natural and less daunting. Conversely, often we only visualize the end result, the trophy or the finished product, forgetting the grind, the effort, and the discipline required to get there. By visualizing the sustained effort, you prepare yourself mentally for the journey itself. Now, consider the subtle yet profound impact of your physical environment on your resolve. We often focus intensely on our internal state, believing that the battle for consistent action is solely waged within the confines of our own minds. However, the spaces we inhabit, the physical settings where we attempt to execute our intentions, can either serve as powerful allies or insidious saboteurs of our progress. Think about your primary workspace, whether it's a dedicated office, a corner of your living room, or even a cafe table. Is it an organized sanctuary conducive to deep focus, or a cluttered testament to unfinished thoughts, forgotten tasks, and a general sense of disarray? The mere visual order, or lack thereof, can significantly impact your cognitive load. A chaotic environment demands more mental energy just to navigate, leaving less available for the actual task at hand. Consequently, the deliberate act of decluttering and organizing your physical surroundings isn't merely an aesthetic pursuit. It's a strategic move to free up mental bandwidth and signal to your brain that it's time for focused engagement. Furthermore, the individuals within your immediate circle can profoundly influence your trajectory. We often underestimate the subtle osmosis of habits and mindsets from those we interact with regularly. Do the people you spend your time with consistently champion effort, accountability, and forward movement, or do they inadvertently, or perhaps even consciously, reinforce a narrative that prioritizes comfort, immediate gratification, and the avoidance of difficulty? Observe the conversations that dominate your interactions. Are they discussions that inspire, challenge, and encourage deliberate action, or do they tend to dwell on complaints, justifications, and the perceived insurmountable nature of obstacles? Cultivating relationships with individuals who embody the principles of action and commitment can create a powerful external reinforcing loop for your internal drive. Conversely, prolonged exposure to a group that habitually succumbs to inertia can, over time, erode your own resolve, making it feel more arduous to maintain your distinct path. Building on this, let's examine the intentional management of your digital ecosystem. In our hyper-connected age, the constant barrage of notifications, social media feeds, and endless streams of information serve as potent, often relentless, invitations to disengage from your intended path. These digital arenas are meticulously engineered to capture and retain your attention, frequently at the expense of your deeper goals and the focused effort they require. Consequently, the deliberate reduction of digital noise, implementing structured do not disturb periods, curating your subscriptions and followings to align with your vision, or utilizing time blocking for digital consumption, becomes not an act of deprivation, but a strategic maneuver for self-preservation and laser-like focus. It's about reclaiming your attention, the most valuable currency in the modern age. Conversely, consider how technology can be strategically leveraged to amplify your efforts. Various productivity applications are designed to track your progress, provide granular insights into your work patterns, and offer consistent reminders for your key tasks. Engaging with online communities that share your specific goals can also provide invaluable structure, shared learning, and a sense of collective accountability that complements your individual resolve. This isn't about technological abstinence. It's about informed, intentional engagement that actively serves your forward momentum, transforming potential distractions into tools for progress. Another crucial layer involves understanding the potent effect of external accountability mechanisms. While the ultimate decision to initiate and sustain action rests unequivocally within you, external structures can provide essential scaffolding, particularly during the nascent and often most challenging stages of habit formation. Consider the power of pre-commitment strategies, making a declaration of your intentions to another trusted individual or a supportive group. This creates a psychological, and sometimes even practical, imperative that makes deviating from your chosen course significantly more difficult. For instance, publicly stating your commitment to finishing a particular report by a specific deadline, or establishing a weekly progress review with an accountability partner creates a sense of obligation that transcends your fluctuating internal motivation. This external anchor can be the crucial difference between action and inaction when internal drive wanes. Building further on this, think about how physical environments can be consciously reconfigured to actively support your objectives. If your primary goal involves writing, for example, perhaps establishing your writing desk in a quiet, dedicated corner of your home, or identifying a consistent, focused spot at a local library, can serve as a powerful environmental cue. This external signal can effectively communicate to your brain that it's time to engage in that specific, intended activity. Conversely, if you find yourself habitually reaching for your smartphone the moment you sit down to focus, consider implementing a simple yet effective strategy. Place the device in a different room, or utilize applications that temporarily block access to distracting platforms during your designated work periods. These aren't simply matters of willpower. They are strategic adjustments to your surroundings that make the desired action more accessible and the undesirable distractions considerably more arduous to engage with. Furthermore, the prevailing narratives you consume significantly shape your underlying resolve. Are you consistently exposed to stories that highlight limitations, perceived insurmountable obstacles, and the fragility of effort? Or are you actively seeking out accounts that chronicle resilience, unwavering determination, and the triumph of sustained action? The content you engage with, be it books, podcasts, films, or even the tenor of your daily conversations, profoundly influences your beliefs about what is genuinely possible for you. Consequently, the conscious choice to immerse yourself in narratives that emphasize the power of persistent effort, the courage to overcome adversity, and the eventual reward of unwavering commitment can powerfully reinforce your own personal drive. Imagine the impact of biographical accounts detailing individuals who achieved extraordinary feats not solely through innate talent, but through sheer grit and relentless execution. These historical accounts serve as potent reminders that the path to significant achievement is rarely a straight, easy line, but it is invariably navigable through persistent, intentional action. Conversely, passively absorbing content that disproportionately emphasizes luck, inherited privilege, or external validation can subtly, yet effectively, undermine your belief in the efficacy of your own diligent efforts. It is about becoming a discerning curator of your informational diet, ensuring it nourishes your ambition rather than inadvertently depleting it. The strategic application of temptation bundling offers another practical and effective approach. This technique involves pairing an activity that you genuinely desire to do with an activity that you recognize as necessary, but perhaps less appealing. For instance, if you find yourself consistently procrastinating on a particularly challenging work task, you might decide that you will only permit yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while actively engaged in that specific task. Similarly, if you struggle to maintain a regular exercise routine, you could commit to only watching your preferred streaming series while you are actively engaged on the treadmill or stationary bike. This method ingeniously leverages your existing, desirable activities to create motivation for engaging in less appealing but essential tasks. Building on this principle, consider the profound impact of visualizing not merely the ultimate outcome of your actions, but the sustained process of engaging in them consistently. Take a moment to vividly picture yourself sitting down to that difficult task with unwavering focus, experiencing the deep satisfaction of completing a significant section or feeling the invigorating rush of endorphins after a robust workout. This form of mental rehearsal can significantly reduce the perceived friction associated with initiating and maintaining the desired behavior, making the actual execution feel more natural, more intuitive, and ultimately, less daunting. Conversely, we often tend to focus solely on the end goal, the award, the finished product, the ultimate achievement, while neglecting to acknowledge or internalize the crucial elements of the journey itself, the consistent grind, the sustained effort, and the unwavering discipline required to arrive there. By actively visualizing the sustained effort and the incremental steps involved, you more effectively prepare yourself mentally for the entire journey, not just the destination. Now, let's delve into the often overlooked aspect of how our ingrained behavioral sequences, beyond just our workspace, significantly impact our ability to initiate and sustain action. Consider the ingrained ritual of reaching for your phone the very instant you sit down to tackle a demanding task. This isn't just a random impulse. It's a deeply etched behavioral chain, a micro-habit that has been reinforced through repeated, almost automatic execution. Recognizing these sequences is paramount. It's about dissecting the automatic, if this, than the pathways your brain has established. For instance, if the sequence is sit down to work dash feel overwhelmed dash reach for phone dash scroll mindlessly, then the intervention isn't about willpower in that moment of overwhelm, but about interrupting the chain before it begins. This might involve strategically placing your phone in a different room, utilizing app blockers that activate during designated work periods, or even creating a preceding, more positive trigger, such as the act of opening a specific project file or drinking a glass of water, as your immediate precursor to sitting down. The goal is to introduce a deliberate friction point, a moment of conscious choice that breaks the established, automatic response. Building on this, let's examine the strategic application of implementation intentions, a psychological concept that involves making specific, detailed plans about when and where you will take a particular action. Instead of a vague resolution like, I will exercise more, an implementation intention would be phrased as, if it is 6 a.m. and the sun is rising, then I will put on my workout clothes and go for a 30-minute walk. This simple if-then formulation transforms a general desire into a concrete, actionable plan, significantly increasing the likelihood of follow-through. It anticipates potential obstacles and preemptively creates a plan to overcome them. Consider the scenario of needing to prepare a healthy dinner after a long day. A vague intention might lead to defaulting to takeout. However, an implementation intention could be, when I arrive home from work today, before I even sit down, I will unpack the pre-portioned ingredients for the stir-fry that I laid out this morning. This pre-planning, this commitment to a specific sequence of actions at a predetermined time and place, bypasses the need for spontaneous motivation. Furthermore, let's explore the concept of environmental cueing as a subtle yet potent force in habit formation. Think about how the mere presence of certain objects can trigger specific behaviors. If you want to read more, leaving a book open on your bedside table or on your coffee table acts as a visual cue, a constant, gentle reminder of your intention. Conversely, if your goal is to reduce screen time, removing distracting apps from your phone's home screen or placing your television remote in a less accessible location can diminish the automaticity of those behaviors. It's about deliberately shaping your environment to serve your goals, making the desired actions more visible and accessible, and the undesired ones less so. This isn't about brute force willpower, it's about smart environmental design. Conversely, consider the subtle ways in which our environment can inadvertently undermine our intentions. Imagine wanting to eat healthier, yet having your pantry perpetually stocked with tempting, processed snacks. In such a case, the visual cue of those snacks, readily available and easily accessible, becomes a powerful trigger for less desirable eating habits. The intervention here isn't about berating yourself for succumbing to temptation, but about proactively managing your sensory inputs. Removing those triggers, restocking with healthier alternatives, and creating a visual environment that aligns with your nutritional goals can significantly alter your behavioral patterns without requiring extraordinary willpower. It's about making the healthy choice the path of least resistance. Another crucial layer to consider is the impact of ambient sensory input on our cognitive state and subsequent action. The quality of light in your workspace, the presence or absence of ambient noise, or even the scent of a particular room can subtly influence your mood, focus, and readiness to engage. For instance, some individuals find that working in natural light enhances their alertness, while others thrive with the soft glow of a desk lamp. Similarly, for some, complete silence is paramount for concentration, while for others, a low-level ambient soundscape, like instrumental music or white noise, helps to block out distracting thoughts and foster a more focused state. Experimenting with these sensory elements, adjusting lighting, incorporating calming scents, or using noise-canceling headphones, can create an environment that is more conducive to sustained effort, making the act of beginning and continuing your tasks feel more natural and less of a struggle. It's about creating an atmosphere that whispers encouragement rather than shouts distraction. Now, consider how the very structure of your task list can either fuel your momentum or become a monument to procrastination. Many approach their to-do lists with a sense of overwhelming dread, a single monolithic entity that looms large. However, a transformative approach involves dissecting these lists into granular, bite-sized actions. Instead of write report, break it down into outline report sections, research section 1 data, draft introduction, edit first paragraph. Each of these microtasks, when completed, offers a small, immediate sense of accomplishment, a tiny victory that builds upon itself. This process of task decomposition doesn't just make things manageable. It actively rewires your brain to associate completion with positive reinforcement rather than overwhelming effort. Furthermore, consider the strategic sequencing of your tasks. While tackling the most daunting item first, the eat the frog philosophy can be highly effective, it's not the only strategy. Sometimes, initiating your work session with a quick, easy win can build the necessary initial momentum. This could involve completing a minor administrative task or responding to a brief email. The key is to understand your own natural energy cycles and task preferences, and then deliberately sequence your workload to leverage those patterns rather than fight against them. It's about intelligent task management, not just brute force. Building on the idea of task decomposition, let's explore the concept of habit stacking, a powerful technique that leverages existing routines to integrate new desired behaviors. Instead of trying to create an entirely new habit from scratch, which can feel overwhelming, habit stacking involves attaching a new, desired action to a pre-existing, well-established habit. For instance, if you consistently brush your teeth every morning, you could stack a new habit onto it. After I brush my teeth, I will immediately do 10 push-ups. Or, after I finish my morning coffee, I will spend 5 minutes reviewing my daily microtasks. This creates a seamless transition where the established habit acts as a natural trigger for the new one, reducing the mental friction associated with initiating a fresh behavior. The pre-existing habit serves as a reliable anchor, ensuring that the new behavior is consistently performed, even when motivation dips. This isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about intelligently integrating desired actions into your established rhythm of life. However, it's crucial to recognize that not all habits are created equal, and not all routines are inherently beneficial. Conversely, the unconscious repetition of unproductive patterns can be just as detrimental as the absence of positive ones. Consider the reward bias inherent in many habitual behaviors, particularly those involving instant gratification. The immediate dopamine hit from scrolling through social media, for example, can create a powerful, albeit fleeting, sense of satisfaction that subtly reinforces the habit, even when it actively detracts from more meaningful pursuits. Therefore, a deeper layer of analysis involves identifying not just the habits you want to build, but also the detrimental ones you need to dismantle. This requires a keen awareness of the cues that trigger these unproductive sequences and the immediate rewards they provide. Once identified, the strategy shifts from simply adding positive habits to actively disrupting the negative ones by removing cues, increasing friction, or substituting them with alternative, more beneficial actions. Another crucial layer involves understanding the role of environmental triggers in shaping our behavior, beyond just physical organization. Think about the digital environment. Leaving open browser tabs for distracting websites or allowing numerous applications to run in the background can create a constant, subtle temptation that erodes focus. Conversely, establishing a dedicated work mode on your computer, which involves closing unnecessary programs and silencing notifications, can create a digital sanctuary that primes you for focused action. It's about designing your digital space to be an ally in your pursuit of productivity rather than an adversary. This deliberate sculpting of your digital landscape can significantly reduce the cognitive load associated with resisting distractions, freeing up mental energy for more impactful tasks. It transforms your digital tools from potential saboteurs into deliberate enablers of your goals. Now, consider how the very architecture of your decision-making process can either empower or paralyze your progress. We often fall into the trap of analysis paralysis, a state where the sheer volume of choices and the perceived need to make the perfect decision prevents us from making any decision at all. This is particularly insidious when it comes to actions requiring sustained effort. Instead of embarking on a project, we get lost in researching every possible tool, every methodology, every potential pitfall, believing that comprehensive knowledge precedes effective action. However, The reality is that true understanding often emerges through the act of doing, not before it. To counteract this, cultivate a bias towards good enough decisions, especially in the early stages. Embrace the concept of iterative progress. Make a decision, take action, gather feedback from the experience, and then refine your approach. This iterative cycle is far more productive than an endless quest for an unattainable ideal. Think of it like navigating with a compass rather than a meticulously drawn map for every possible scenario. You set your direction and adjust your course as you move, learning from the terrain encountered. Building on this, it's crucial to differentiate between strategic decision-making and tactical paralysis. Strategic decisions, those that set your long-term direction, require thoughtful consideration. However, the myriad of smaller, tactical decisions that arise daily can, if overanalyzed, grind progress to a halt. For instance, deciding on your overall career path is a strategic decision requiring deep reflection. But deciding which email to answer first or how to structure a specific paragraph in a report are tactical decisions that often benefit from a more immediate, less scrutinized approach. Develop a mental framework to quickly categorize these decisions. If a decision will have minimal long-term impact and is easily reversible, default to a quick choice and move forward. This conserves your mental energy for the truly consequential strategic choices. It's akin to a chef knowing the overall flavor profile of a dish, strategic, versus quickly adjusting seasoning during cooking, tactical. However, not all hesitation stems from overanalysis. Sometimes, the root lies in an underestimation of our own capabilities or an overestimation of the potential negative consequences. This is often tied to a fear of failure, a deeply ingrained emotional response that can manifest as indecisiveness. To address this, practice pre-mortem analysis, not to dwell on potential failures, but to proactively identify them and plan mitigation strategies. Imagine your action has already failed spectacularly. What went wrong? Now, work backward from that imagined failure to identify concrete steps you can take today to prevent those specific negative outcomes. This reframes the fear from an insurmountable barrier into a problem-solving exercise, empowering you to move forward with greater confidence and foresight. It shifts the focus from "what if I fail" to "how can I succeed despite potential challenges." Conversely, we must also acknowledge the temptation to make decisions impulsively, mistaking speed for effectiveness. This can occur when we are eager to appear decisive or when we are driven by a short-term desire for relief from the discomfort of deliberation. True effectiveness in decision-making lies not just in speed, but in the alignment of the decision with your overarching goals and values. Before making a significant choice, take a moment to ask, does this decision move me closer to my desired future, or does it simply offer a temporary escape from present discomfort? This simple question can act as a crucial filter, preventing you from taking actions that might feel productive in the moment, but ultimately lead you astray. It's about ensuring that your forward movement is in the right direction, not just any direction. Another crucial layer involves understanding the concept of decision fatigue. The sheer volume of decisions we make throughout the day, from the trivial, what to wear, to the significant, project priorities, can deplete our mental resources. This depletion can lead to poorer decision-making, increased procrastination, and a greater susceptibility to impulsivity later in the day. To combat this, proactively protect your most critical decision-making hours. Schedule your most important tasks, those requiring focused deliberation and strategic thinking, for times when your mental energy is likely to be highest, often earlier in the day. Delegate or automate less critical decisions whenever possible. This strategic conservation of mental energy ensures you have the capacity to make impactful choices when they matter most. Think of it as guarding your prime intellectual real estate, ensuring it's available for the most valuable work. Now, consider how the very architecture of your decision-making process can either empower or paralyze your progress. We often fall into the trap of analysis paralysis, a state where the sheer volume of choices and the perceived need to make the perfect decision prevents us from making any decision at all. This is particularly insidious when it comes to actions requiring sustained effort. Instead of embarking on a project, we get lost in researching every possible tool, every methodology, every potential pitfall, believing that comprehensive knowledge precedes effective action. However, the reality is that true understanding often emerges through the act of doing, not before it. To counteract this, cultivate a bias towards good enough decisions, especially in the early stages. Embrace the concept of iterative progress. Make a decision, take action, gather feedback from the experience, and then refine your approach. This iterative cycle is far more productive than an endless quest for an unattainable ideal. Think of it like navigating with a compass rather than a meticulously drawn map for every possible scenario. You set your direction and adjust your course as you move, learning from the terrain encountered. Building on this, it's crucial to differentiate between strategic decision-making and tactical paralysis. Strategic decisions, those that set your long-term direction, require thoughtful consideration. However, the myriad of smaller, tactical decisions that arise daily can, if overanalyzed, grind progress to a halt. For instance, deciding on your overall career path is a strategic decision requiring deep reflection. But deciding which email to answer first or how to structure a specific paragraph in a report are tactical decisions that often benefit from a more immediate, less scrutinized approach. Develop a mental framework to quickly categorize these decisions. If a decision will have minimal long-term impact and is easily reversible, default to a quick choice and move forward. This conserves your mental energy for the truly consequential strategic choices. It's akin to a chef knowing the overall flavor profile of a dish, strategic, versus quickly adjusting seasoning during cooking, tactical. However, not all hesitation stems from overanalysis. Sometimes, the root lies in an underestimation of our own capabilities or an overestimation of the potential negative consequences. This is often tied to a fear of failure, a deeply ingrained emotional response that can manifest as indecisiveness. To address this, practice pre-mortem analysis, not to dwell on potential failures, but to proactively identify them and plan mitigation strategies. Imagine your action has already failed spectacularly. What went wrong? Now, work backward from that imagined failure to identify concrete steps you can take today to prevent those specific negative outcomes. This reframes the fear from an insurmountable barrier into a problem-solving exercise, empowering you to move forward with greater confidence and foresight. It shifts the focus from "what if I fail" to "how can I succeed despite potential challenges?" Conversely, we must also acknowledge the temptation to make decisions impulsively, mistaking speed for effectiveness. This can occur when we are eager to appear decisive or when we are driven by a short-term desire for relief from the discomfort of deliberation. True effectiveness in decision-making lies not just in speed, but in the alignment of the decision with your overarching goals and values. Before making a significant choice, take a moment to ask, does this decision move me closer to my desired future, or does it simply offer a temporary escape from present discomfort? This simple question can act as a crucial filter, preventing you from taking actions that might feel productive in the moment, but ultimately lead you astray. It's about ensuring that your forward movement is in the right direction, not just any direction. Another crucial layer involves understanding the concept of decision fatigue. The sheer volume of decisions we make throughout the day, from the trivial, what to wear, to the significant, project priorities, can deplete our mental resources. This depletion can lead to poorer decision-making, increased procrastination, and a greater susceptibility to impulsivity later in the day. To combat this, proactively protect your most critical decision-making hours. Schedule your most important tasks, those requiring focused deliberation and strategic thinking, for times when your mental energy is likely to be highest, often earlier in the day. Delegate or automate less critical decisions whenever possible. This strategic conservation of mental energy ensures you have the capacity to make impactful choices when they matter most. Think of it as guarding your prime intellectual real estate, ensuring it's available for the most valuable work. Now, consider how the very architecture of your decision-making process can either empower or paralyze your progress. We often fall into the trap of analysis paralysis, a state where the sheer volume of choices and the perceived need to make the perfect decision prevents us from making any decision at all. This is particularly insidious when it comes to actions requiring sustained effort. Instead of embarking on a project, we get lost in researching every possible tool, every methodology, every potential pitfall, believing that comprehensive knowledge precedes effective action. However, the reality is that true understanding often emerges through the act of doing, not before it. To counteract this, cultivate a bias towards good enough decisions, especially in the early stages. Embrace the concept of iterative progress. Make a decision, take action, gather feedback from the experience, and then refine your approach. This iterative cycle is far more productive than an endless quest for an unattainable ideal. Think of it like navigating with a compass rather than a meticulously drawn map for every possible scenario. You set your direction and adjust your course as you move, learning from the terrain encountered. Building on this, it's crucial to differentiate between strategic decision-making and tactical paralysis. Strategic decisions, those that set your long-term direction, require thoughtful consideration. However, the myriad of smaller, tactical decisions that arise daily can, if overanalyzed, grind progress to a halt. For instance, deciding on your overall career path is a strategic decision requiring deep reflection. But deciding which email to answer first or how to structure a specific paragraph in a report are tactical decisions that often benefit from a more immediate, less scrutinized approach. Develop a mental framework to quickly categorize these decisions. If a decision will have minimal long-term impact and is easily reversible, default to a quick choice and move forward. This conserves your mental energy for the truly consequential strategic choices. It's akin to a chef knowing the overall flavor profile of a dish, strategic, versus quickly adjusting seasoning during cooking, tactical. However, not all hesitation stems from overanalysis. Sometimes, the root lies in an underestimation of our own capabilities or an overestimation of the potential negative consequences. This is often tied to a fear of failure, a deeply ingrained emotional response that can manifest as indecisiveness. To address this, practice pre-mortem analysis, not to dwell on potential failures, but to proactively identify them and plan mitigation strategies. Imagine your action has already failed spectacularly. What went wrong? Now, work backward from that imagined failure to identify concrete steps you can take today to prevent those specific negative outcomes. This reframes the fear from an insurmountable barrier into a problem-solving exercise, empowering you to move forward with greater confidence and foresight. It shifts the focus from "what if I fail" to "how can I succeed despite potential challenges?" Conversely, we must also acknowledge the temptation to make decisions impulsively, mistaking speed for effectiveness. This can occur when we are eager to appear decisive or when we are driven by a short-term desire for relief from the discomfort of deliberation. True effectiveness in decision-making lies not just in speed, but in the alignment of the decision with your overarching goals and values. Before making a significant choice, take a moment to ask, does this decision move me closer to my desired future, or does it simply offer a temporary escape from present discomfort? This simple question can act as a crucial filter, preventing you from taking actions that might feel productive in the moment, but ultimately lead you astray. It's about ensuring that your forward movement is in the right direction, not just any direction. Another crucial layer involves understanding the concept of decision fatigue. The sheer volume of decisions we make throughout the day, from the trivial, what to wear, to the significant, project priorities, can deplete our mental resources. This depletion can lead to poorer decision-making, increased procrastination, and a greater susceptibility to impulsivity later in the day. To combat this, proactively protect your most critical decision-making hours. Schedule your most important tasks, those requiring focused deliberation and strategic thinking, for times when your mental energy is likely to be highest, often earlier in the day. Delegate or automate less critical decisions whenever possible. This strategic conservation of mental energy ensures you have the capacity to make impactful choices when they matter most. Think of it as guarding your prime intellectual real estate, ensuring it's available for the most valuable work. Reflecting on this journey thus far, we've navigated the intricate terrain of inner resolve and the powerful, often underestimated, momentum generated by consistent, deliberate action. It's become evident that the whispers of doubt, the allure of comfort, and the intricate dance of our internal states are not insurmountable barriers, but rather elements to be understood and masterfully integrated into our forward motion. The exploration has underscored that the true genesis of significant achievement lies not in the passive reception of external impetus, but in the active cultivation of an inner engine, one fueled by the sheer commitment to doing. Drawing these strands together, we begin to perceive a more defined landscape. The scattered pieces of intention and aspiration that once felt disparate are now coalescing into a more coherent, emergent pattern. It's akin to observing individual brushstrokes transforming into a cohesive masterpiece, where each deliberate mark contributes to the overarching vision. The path forward, illuminated by these convergent insights, reveals not a sudden leap, but a continuous, unfolding revelation, progressively unfolding with each chosen step. In light of these insights, the inherent power of disciplined engagement becomes undeniably clear. It's a force that doesn't merely respond to external circumstances, but actively shapes them. The journey has highlighted how the consistent application of focused effort, irrespective of immediate emotional resonance, begins to forge an internal resilience, a steadfastness that becomes the bedrock of true personal authority. This unwavering commitment, once ingrained, transcends the ephemeral nature of fleeting inspiration, solidifying into an identity that is both robust and dynamically adaptive. As we pivot towards the final reflection, the cumulative effect of these explorations emerges with striking clarity. It's like a river, fed by countless small tributaries, growing in volume and force until it carves a definitive path through the landscape. The insights shared have illuminated not just the why behind consistent action, but also the profound, transformative how. The anticipation builds for the ultimate recognition of this cultivated strength, this self-authored destiny. The threads of our exploration have woven a powerful tapestry, revealing that the journey to profound personal transformation is not paved with the fleeting allure of perfect moments or the ephemeral whisper of inspiration. Instead, it is meticulously constructed, brick by deliberate brick, through the unwavering commitment to action. We have seen how the internal landscape, often perceived as a battleground of competing emotions and ingrained patterns, is in fact a fertile ground for cultivation, irrigated by the consistent flow of intentional movement. The realization dawns that waiting for the right feeling is an illusion that perpetuates stagnation. True readiness is not a prerequisite for action, but its direct and inevitable consequence. Each step taken, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, is not merely a movement forward in space, but a profound reshaping of the self. It is in this consistent, often unglamorous, act of doing that we begin to architect our own agency, to dismantle the invisible barriers of doubt, and to solidify a sense of self-efficacy that no external circumstance can truly shake. This journey has illuminated the profound truth that the most potent catalyst for change resides not in external validation or fortuitous timing, but within the resoluteness of our own choices. The consistent practice of acting, even when the inner voice urges hesitation, is the crucible in which our character is forged. It is the daily discipline of showing up, not for applause or immediate reward, but for the quiet, unshakable integrity of honoring our own commitment, that truly redefines who we are. This is not about an absence of challenge or difficulty, but about developing an inner fortitude that transcends it. It's about understanding that the most significant growth occurs at the edge of our comfort, not within its familiar embrace. The power lies not in eradicating struggle, but in choosing to engage with it, to learn from it, and to emerge from it stronger, clearer, and more deeply aligned with our authentic potential. The culmination of this understanding is a profound liberation. We are not bound by the volatility of our emotions or the perceived limitations of our circumstances. Instead, we are empowered by the knowledge that through consistent, purposeful action, we possess the intrinsic ability to sculpt our reality, to rewrite our narratives, and to ascend to the highest versions of ourselves. This is not a passive unfolding. It is an active creation, a testament to the enduring power of human will directed with clarity and unwavering conviction. The true practice begins now, not in waiting for a grand pronouncement, but in the quiet, deliberate, and powerful act of engaging with the next moment and the one after that, with the profound understanding that you are the architect of your own remarkable becoming.